So the Planet of the Apes reboot trilogy has been stuck in this weird place in pop culture. Each of the movies made money, they got progressively better reviews, and there's a strong argument that the trilogy is one of the best of the 2010s. Yet they seem to be stuck in the same place as James Cameron's Avatar films, despite trying a little bit harder when it comes to the story. They're celebrated for the massive leaps in motion capture technology, and further established Andy Serkis as the absolute best at his craft, yet seem to vanish from public consciousness each time their release cycles ended. But a lack of cultural resonance doesn't always mean there's a lack of quality, and don't get it twisted, these are three damn good films. Personally, I thought Dawn was the best of the three, and War felt a little too small to be the final installment, given that it was more of a prison break movie than an actual war movie. But it tied a nice bow on Caesar's arc and left the door open for future installments that could bear closer resemblance to the original 1968 film. 7 years later, and we finally got one with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And despite Matt Reeves moving on to much bigger projects and Serkis taking a backseat as a consultant, Kingdom fits right in as the fourth installment in this sci-fi epic. It's damn near excellent, at least most of the time. The film is set roughly 300 years after Caesar's death. Apes are now the dominant species on the planet, though their technology and speech haven't evolved much since the last time we saw them, and what's left of the human population has devolved into feral cavemen incapable of speech. The story centers around Noah, a young chimp whose tribe focuses on training eagles. And while it takes time setting up Noah's coming-of-age tale within his tribe, it's not long before his idyllic life is thrown into chaos by the forces of Proximus Caesar, a tyrannical monarch dead set on finding a particular human named May, who knows more about what humanity left behind before its downfall than she's willing to let on. The movie's first half is where it hits its stride, setting up Noah's tribe and the role he's trying to grow into within it, him failing to stop its sudden upheaval, learning about the rest of the world from the wise orangutan Raka, and slowly developing a friendship with May all work like gangbusters. It's when we get to the titular kingdom and finally meet Proximus about 80 minutes into the movie that it starts to stumble a little. Despite being heavily featured in promotional material, Kevin Durant's Proximus doesn't quite live up to the hype as the main villain. Oh, he's menacing, but his limited screen time makes him feel less like a character and more like a collection of interesting ideas. His decision to take on Caesar's name and twist his ideology give off the indication that he should be a bigger deal, to the point where I thought he'd be set up as a recurring villain if and when more sequels get made. But by the end, it's very clear this franchise is heading off in a different direction, and his big confrontation with Noah is overshadowed by the multiple fights Noah's already had with Silva, one of Proxima's guerrilla lieutenants. I guess gorillas are just more intimidating. Blame this guy. As for the performances, Owen Teague holds his own as Noah, and Peter Macon brings some much-needed levity as Raka. But the MVP goes to Freya Allan in her first major role outside of The Witcher. May winds up being a surprisingly complex character and has to pull off multiple big scenes while acting off nothing but CGI apes in complete silence, yet she never misses a beat. I know the previous trilogy refreshed its human cast with each movie, but there's a good chance she'll stick around for whatever the studio decides to do next. Also, Kingdom's director Wes Ball has already been tapped to direct the live-action Legend of Zelda movie, and I'll bet good money she's already in the running for a certain princess role. As for the apes, I didn't think it was possible to make them look any more realistic than they already did, but they somehow pulled it off again. There's honestly a few scenes where it feels like the movie is just showing off, putting dozens of apes on screen, all with unique features and movements, and playing around with stuff like lighting and water effects. It's genuinely staggering how real these guys look. But the true strength of the film and what once again separates Apes from the other visual spectacle franchises out there is its willingness to tackle complex ideas and not force-feed its audience a particular answer. Instead of trying to compensate for Caesar being long dead, the film wrestles with his legacy head-on by having Proximus and Raka be contrasting examples of how historical figures can be used to either enlighten or radicalize future generations when their actions and principles are misinterpreted, distorted, or simply lost to time. Even the age-old question of whether or not apes and humans can possibly live together in peace is brought back up. And just like how Caesar couldn't find a concrete answer throughout his three films, Noah is left with the same uncertainty by the end. The Planet of the Apes franchise has seen its fair share of ups and downs over the decades. And with all that changed between the releases of War and Kingdom, I feared that a downturn in quality was inevitable. But Bell, the cast, and the world-class CGI production team managed to keep things on track, and hopefully it's a big enough hit to keep this new direction rolling. Now let's all cross our fingers and see if Belle can pull off bringing Hyrule to life. Thanks for watching.